Superman, Star Wars, Elmo, and the Smurfs. You're watching Live with the Guy, and it's Monday afternoon. Oh, everything went out there. Before we get started, let's say hello to Nat, my producer.
Hello.
How was your weekend, Nat?
Just fine. How about yours?
Well, I'm sure your weekend and my weekend were the same because we're never apart. Okay, we got 3 articles today on Superman. So we'll start with that, and then we'll go into Elmo's X account getting hacked. What pop culture news did you have from the weekend?
Well, they're making we're not talking about it, but they're making a series about Jeanette McCurdy's autobiography.
You were trying to tell me about this.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, Jennifer Aniston will play her mother. Jeanette McCurdy, if you didn't know, was in iCarly. She wasn't the main character, but she was an important character. And she came out with an autobiography talking about how her mother was her manager and how terrible she was. And her autobiography is called I'm Glad My Mom's Dead.
And was this somewhat based upon that series about Nickelodeon?
No, I mean, it has to do with it. It's not based upon that, but she touches on Dan Schneider, who she calls, I think, the producer. She doesn't mention him by name, but it'll be interesting because Apple TV Plus is the one that picked it up, and Jennifer Aniston is going to be the evil mother, so she's moving away from playing, bubbly characters.
And what was the Dan Snyder documentary on HBO called? Do you remember? It was a pretty
Quiet
good
on Set.
Quiet on Set. That was a good documentary. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I do recommend it. Okay, let's get started with the first article, and it's how Superman inspired a review war when it's fair to what?
Before we start, we do have some comments. So,
okay.
From Follow the Bradley's Fun, Live with the Guy. Hello.
Good to see you
later tonight.
Yep.
And Rafa says, hello, Rafa.
Good to see you, Rafa.
Ron says, I'm number 1. Jennifer Aniston. Yes, Jennifer Aniston will be playing the mother, interestingly enough.
And we may have a lot of technical difficulties. We're not sure how the sound's working. I fixed a lot of things on this particular set. I've been working all weekend on this thing. Lighting, sound, everything. So if something goes wrong, just forgive us. I'm going to tweak it throughout the week, and I'm hoping by Friday we have everything perfect. Have you checked the sound so far?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Well, so far, so good. Okay, let's go into the first article.
Okay, go again because you were muted.
Okay. Why are you muting me on there?
I don't know. It was muted when we started.
The whole time I've been muted?
No, you've been muted just when we moved to this screen. So just say what you did.
Okay. Despite let's just go right into the article here.
Okay. So critics more than ever these days tend to lean into the same opinion of a movie more and more. The collective wisdom rules. Superman, however, may be a singular exception. It's not just that a lot of the reviews, like mine, have been unabashedly enthusiastic, while a not-so-small contingent of critics, like this one, have slammed the movie as an overcooked debacle.
And let's just talk about this just for a quick second. Despite multiple cancellations, this did well at the domestic box office. It somewhat bombed at the international box office. I still think this movie is not going to have the big drop-off because I think there was a lot of propaganda about this movie before it came out for people not to go watch this. I talked a little bit about it on Friday, but we'll talk about it more right now. Let's continue to go on this article.
It's that when I look at the divided reviews of Superman, it's as if I'm taking in the response of 2 entirely different movies. One of them, My Superman, is a ripping good yarn, abashed, jaunty, clever, sweet-rooted, just enough in the real-world adventure that conjures some of the deadpan serial nuttiness of the Superman comics of the 60s and 70s. The other Superman, that's the one that's gotten kicked in the blue spandex shins, is too fast, too frenetic, too snarky, too overstuffed, too empty of soul and emotion and conviction. And that goddamn dog. Could these both movies exist?
Okay, yeah. There was a weird thing going on with this movie. Before this movie came out, there was a lot of media bias about truth, justice, and the human way, not the American way. And a lot of the mainstream media was pressing propaganda that this was a political movie. When the movie finally did come out, there was very little politics in this. And that's why the independent media has kind of changed its views and really got behind this movie overall. The mainstream media, on the other hand, was praising this movie beforehand. And now that it's come out in wide release, they're kind of changing their views and dogging this movie outright. Do you want to go a little bit more into the article here or no?
As you wish. It's your show.
Yeah, let's continue to go here.
In a funny way, yes. In the last 6 or 7 years, as a reviewer of comic book...
Also, the mainstream media really tried to insert politics in this movie, and it was unjustified because there was none. And this is what kind of sparked off the review wars in the beginning. A lot of people thought this movie was going to be different than what it came out to be. James Gunn's looking vindicated in a lot of ways, but he needs the box office. If you combine the Snyderverse cancellation that happened online with all the Snyderverse fans attempting to cancel this movie before it came out, the mainstream media's propaganda about politics being in this thing, and the Truth, Justice, and the American Way scandal around this movie, it had 3 cancellations going against it before it even came out. This may have hurt opening sales, especially internationally. They did have a very good international ad campaign for this thing that they did in real life. They had statues placed around the world on top of buildings and things like this. Okay, let's continue to go with this just a little bit.
Then I felt like I needed to join a support group, one in which my opening statement would be, "Hi, my name is Owen and I liked Captain Marvel." I did. I thought it was quite enjoyable and couldn't fathom the media hatred of it. It grossed 426 million domestic, so someone agreed with me. I also liked Eternals. If you call me soft on those films, I won't get defensive, though I'll go to the mat as I did at the time to say that many of the folks who were hard on Eternals seem to be punishing Chloe Zhao for the crime of having sold out to direct it. And this just makes me trust his review a lot less.
Yeah, and the mainstream media, I'm really not trusting on Superman or a lot of movies these days. And it almost seems like they try to set up independent content creators for a fail on this one, constantly saying that there was politics in this thing. They're the ones that had access to early reviews on this movie. With pre-screenings and things like this. And when it came out in the mainstream, it was nothing as expected. Let's get into the second article, which is going to go more into opening day box office. And then we'll get into the final numbers for the weekend on this thing. This movie was expected to do between 210 and 225 million worldwide.
So from Variety again, Superman lifts off with 56.5 million opening day in the second biggest of 2025.
And 56.5 million opening day, that is for the American domestic box office, not the worldwide. We will go into the worldwide numbers in just a moment. That being said, I'm not sure how manipulated these numbers are. When they talk about opening weekend box office now, much like how Jurassic Park came out for their opening weekend, it was groundbreaking. It made so much money. This was a week-long opening weekend, meaning they had 6 days to manipulate these numbers to try to get press articles written about how wonderful this movie is, how everybody wants to see it, despite it being a bad feminist movie with a feminist lead character. They should have focused on the dinosaurs and focused more on the story arc. But that being said, Jurassic Park is having a big fall off in its second week. I don't expect Superman to have quite the same fall off. Okay, let's go a little bit more into
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, yeah. I always mess up Jurassic World and you keep correcting me every time.
So people know what you're talking about.
Yep.
It's up and away for Warner Brothers and DC Studios' Superman, which got off the ground with 56.5 million across Friday and preview screenings in 4,135 theaters. That's the second biggest such figure for a calendar year, floating just behind a Minecraft movie with 57.11 and ahead of Lilo & Stitch 55.94. Of note, Superman earned some extra cash with early access screenings on Tuesday for Amazon Prime members, playing before the traditional Thursday evening opening.
And yeah, so you're going to have a lot of these preview numbers, I believe, may be going into this opening day, these opening day numbers. And they had quite a few previews for this thing. Like they said, they had the Amazon preview and other fairly large previews that came out. I remember when we went to go see Snow White, they tried to do a similar thing. It didn't work. It came out a lot earlier in Mexico than other places. And a lot of the times this is to manipulate international box office numbers. Okay, let's go into the final article here, and this is going to kind of go over what happened after the weekend was done. And these are kind of more the firm numbers, although I will say I'm looking at different numbers that are coming out, and it's expected that it made between 122 and 128 million. Lately, these numbers that are coming out, they're not very firm, and it's taking a lot longer than it used to get the actual numbers of how much these movies made.
So from the Hollywood Reporter, Superman saves the day for DC Studios with 125 million domestic opening, 220 million globally. James Gunn's tentpole appears to be succeeding in the rebooting of the Warner Brothers owned DC and its most prized superhero franchise. Elsewhere, Jurassic World Rebirth bites off a huge 500 million globally.
Okay, and let's go to my other camera. I just want to test all the different camera angles so when I'm reviewing the footage later, because it's a new set. Okay.
I just did.
Thank you.
Go on.
So it made 122 domestically, which was a huge box office number. This movie did very well domestically, and I think it's because the independent media was so on top of things. As soon as they realized it wasn't political, they came out, made their corrections, and this disseminated into the American public very quickly. The American public is very hip to independent media, and it has a lot more influence than I think even the mainstream media. Overseas, I don't think they have such a filled out independent media, especially for pop culture, and the mainstream media may have really hurt the worldwide figures on this thing. So it had 122 million domestically, but only 95 million worldwide. You would have expected it to be a little bit different, to have a bigger worldwide number, especially with the worldwide marketing campaign this movie did have behind it. It did a lot on social media, but it also did a lot in real life. In the UK, in one of the tallest buildings, they had Superman above it, a giant Superman statue hoisted up there on a crane and then hooked up with invisible wires. I watched that marketing campaign. I thought it was fairly smart, but apparently people are kind of rejecting Superman on a global basis, maybe because it is so much of an American-based character, and there is maybe a lot of backlash of America, especially in the EU right now. The EU market is especially where this movie particularly kind of failed.
Oh, you keep saying 122, but the article says 125.
Oh, sorry, 125. I was going off of my notes. I made my notes yesterday. So they're making slight adjustments on the numbers. It may adjust again in the next couple of days to 127. I was also reading that. That being said, it made $117 million, $217 million combined. This is a big opening weekend for it. But it really relied on the domestic market, and that domestic market, I included a lot of preview days, things like this. So everybody that kind of wanted to see it in the domestic market may have seen it. So it may have a bit of a drop off in the domestic market, but internationally, if it can just maintain around 80 million, I think it's in good shape. I don't think it's going to have quite the drop off on the international market because the reviews are coming in on this movie and people do like it. It is non-political. So even though this is an American iconic superhero, it's a lot less political than people thought. And I think that word will get out into the international market and people will go see this movie.
Will you go see it?
I want to see it now. Yeah. Just because I was so wrong about it. And I believed into a lot of the hype that there was going to be politics in this. They misquoted James Gunn. I actually feel pretty bad about the way I did some of the pre-reviews for this movie. I was wrong about it. I didn't see it, but I kind of relied on what the mainstream media was saying about this movie, that it did have politics, that Superman was an immigrant, all these things that came out in these articles and what this movie was supposed to be about. It ended up being something much different, much more akin to Guardians of the Galaxy, a traditional James Gunn movie. Not that this movie is Guardians of the Galaxy, but James Gunn seemed to have hit the nail on the head here again. Okay, let's go into, maybe let's talk about this a little bit. If this movie if this movie does have a huge drop off in the next weekend, it's going to be a sign that superhero movies are going to have to rethink what they're doing. What do I mean by that? They're much too high budgeted and they're trying to appeal to a worldwide audience. If you could have made this Superman movie on a much lower scale and just much smarter filmmaking like Godzilla Plus One did, it still had special effects. It had everything in there, but they were able to do it on an extremely low budget, 15 to 20 million. If you could have done this movie on like 90 million or less, you could have made it specifically for an American audience and an American superhero, and then really have a worldwide push when it came out to streaming and stuff like this. And I think places like Netflix are going to really benefit from AI and these movie studios as well, because they can do more targeted releases or more regional releases of characters and movies that should appeal to certain regions. And then when it comes out on streaming, what they can do is have mouth or lip alterations, which we see AI is already doing fairly well. If they do it on a much bigger budget, they should be able to get the lips to fit different dialects perfectly. So when they're dubbing these movies, you're going to have perfect dubbing, things like this. That will work very well for a streaming audience and have the major release in very strategic markets where it's going to work, not just for a movie like Superman, but even Godzilla, stuff like this.
Do you think the campaign that was waged against Superman, to call it that way, and you called it the mainstream media by saying that it was like woke, for lack of a better term, or the immigrant and the human way, do you think that was they were trying to help him out then, or are they trying to help him out now by saying that it's not woke?
No, they were trying to hurt the movie. I think they were trying to hurt the movie overall by saying it was filled with politics, truth, justice, and the human way. This was the mainstream media propagating this. Only the mainstream media really had access to this movie beforehand. So what happened was the independent media only had their articles to kind of go off, and they didn't think they were going to outright lie about the movie, but that's kind of what they did. And we've seen the mainstream media's approach now. They had fabulous reviews on this thing saying, oh yeah, there's politics in this and everything else. And now they switched their view and they're really lambasting this movie, except the independent media isn't. The independent media lambasted the movie beforehand and is now actually apologizing for kind of what they said about the movie.
Do you think the mainstream media was doing that because they thought that was what was going to get people to the theaters?
No, I think they were trying to cancel this movie. There was a big cancellation out for this movie, and there was actually some articles written about this beforehand and how the Snyderverse, people that supported the Snyderverse wanted this canceled. Also, you have to remember, Superman is a real piece of Americana. He's one of the, other than Captain America, he's probably the most Americanized superhero there is. He really has or represents American values in a very big way. And the mainstream media, we know, doesn't like these kind of things. So them saying that there's politics in this movie was going to really get the moderates and your maybe more traditional supporters to kind of talk crap about this movie before it came out and get that audience to not go see this movie. And that's the mainstream audience. So I think that was an attempt on the mainstream media to kind of cancel this movie. Okay, we've talked a lot about Superman here. I also talked a lot about it on Friday. Thanks for tuning in on Friday for anybody that did. I know I had major microphone issues. I'm glad everything seems to be going well today. It should be going even better tomorrow. Let's go into the next article here. And the next article is going to be Rian Johnson and Star Wars.
Rian Johnson. So from Variety, Rian Johnson says his scrapped Star Wars trilogy was very conceptual and never had an outline or treatment or anything. Nothing really happened with it.
Okay, and this movie, or this project kept being rumored that, oh yeah, this was in the works, this is getting made, blah, 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 blah. And now we see it never really was. And he's coming out as the person that's supposed to be behind a lot of this. He would have the no. And he's saying, no, this is not a thing. It's not going to be a thing. So stop talking about it. That being said, there are a lot of rumors around Star Wars, and I keep bringing up the same talking points, but I'll do it again. There's 60 scripts from George Lucas himself that are R-rated, geared towards adults that they can reset the series on. Which I think would be good. You also have Ryan Reynolds out there. I know his career's in a little bit of bad shape because of his wife right now. That being said, he wants to be in an R-rated Star Wars. He's pitching that. I don't see why you can't use George Lucas's R-rated scripts, get Ryan Reynolds in there along with a little bit of an ensemble cast, maybe drop Pedro Pascal because Yeah, he's really up for cancellation right now in his career, but I think that's the direction you need to go. Gear Star Wars towards adults again for a little while before you start really filling out the universe with cartoons, kids content, video games. Just make good movies.
Oh, but also gear it not just towards adults, gear it towards men. Don't stop trying to put women in Star Wars and make it about women. Women don't care. The men hate it. Everybody hates it. So stop it with the feminism.
Yeah, well, that's Kathleen Kennedy.
And everybody else.
Well, no, it was Kathleen Kennedy, and then she built this feminist universe of all these actresses and directors that were females as well, and tried to have this big feminist universe of Star Wars. And then it got dictated into the scripts and everything else. Yeah, if they can gear towards it more the mainstream and everybody rather than just females, I think that's the way to go. Males are your audience base for Star Wars, and if you can gear towards adult men, a lot of your independent reviewers who are really controlling pulp culture news these days are really the people you want to gear it towards, because they're going to have good reviews, and then that's going to get out to the rest of the mainstream audience. Who would you like to see in Star Wars? Do you think Star Wars can actually be rebooted? Or is it too late? I kept saying the IP's dead. After hearing that George Lucas made those 60 scripts that are R-rated, geared towards adults, I think maybe there's a chance there, but...
Well, as I keep saying with a lot of these franchises, I think it needs to go away for a little bit, have people miss it, build the nostalgia, because they haven't let nostalgia really sink in when they started bringing up making all the new ones, and now it's oversaturated. So it doesn't matter really what they do. I think people are just fed up with it. So just give it a few years even, but Disney will never do that.
And I also I'm not understanding these $500 million scripts or these $250 million movies with another $250 million marketing budget. When Godzilla Plus One made a movie that was that good, I don't understand why you don't just take more time and think the movie out rather than just throwing money at the situation. Like, you can make a movie that requires special effects on a budget. You might not have to do a hairstring budget like they did, but $90 million is a whole lot less money you have to make back in the box office.
And also, thanks, Ron and Rafa, for letting us know about the audio. Hopefully, it's back on now. And Rafa says, Henry Cavill as Jedi Master would be awesome.
Yeah, I really like him now. And I really liked a lot of the things he did off screen. And a lot of people that I knew in real life that had met him really liked him, the way he stood up for Warhammer and different traditional IPs. Henry Cavill is beloved by the American people, and I would have liked to see him in Superman. Now, I think I may have been wrong about the new Superman. Apparently, he's doing pretty good in the role. He is the high point of that movie, people are saying, but I still am a Henry Cavill fan now, and I was not always. When he first came in Superman, I was kind of against him, and he won me over time. Okay, let's go into Elmo, and this was the cover story of the day that I had. And I was surprised to kind of see this, but when you read this article, be a little bit careful because it has a lot of words that the censors don't like to see on YouTube.
Yes. So from Variety, Elmo's X account secured after hacking. Sesame Street says unknown hacker posted disgusting messages, including anti-space, Sam, space, Midic, and racially charged posts.
Yeah, and let's go a little bit into this article, and I haven't read it yet, but this was the first thing I seen on X when I woke up this morning. Every morning I wake up, I got my phone, I pick it up, and I see, is there any attacks? Is there any big war news going on? And Elmo popped up for me, so.
Yeah, yesterday I saw this.
And I kind of always, because I do a pop culture show in the morning and a political show at night, but I try to get those political stories first, because usually overnight something kind of happens, and I guess Elmo is what happened.
The spokesperson for Sesame Street confirmed to Variety that Elmo's official X account was compromised by an unknown hacker who posted disgusting messages, including the aforementioned. The tweets, a vile departure from Elmo's often inspiring and motivational social media cadence, were sent on July 13 and promptly taken down. As reported by CNN, the posts have since been deleted, but widely circulated screenshots showed Elmo apparently calling for violence against Jews and calling for the release of the files related to the Epstein case.
Yeah, and that particular country right now is having a lot of trouble with American support because the far left and the far right both are very angry at Netanyahu, and he's not doing them any favors on the international basis. People don't necessarily have a problem with the country itself. Netanyahu is just not a good representative right now, and I think it's hurting Trump's numbers as well. That being said, this was a very funny account to hack, and I think this was, if they wanted to get their message across, this was the best way to do it. They could have hacked any account, but when you hack Elmo's account, it's pretty much prime for headline news. I do a political show at night, and I'm talking about this on my pop culture segment. I'm also going to talk about it again tonight, probably a little bit more in depth, but this was kind of a strategic hacking of an account that would really grab headlines around the world.
But also, why the hell does Elmo have an X account? He doesn't need one.
Well,
number one, isn't he supposed to be like a child?
Well, hold on here. Sesame is very strategically, politically charged with very progressive ideology.
Yes,
We've known this for years. So that's why he has an X account. They want to get to these kids when they're still in the womb. They're getting to them in kindergarten right now, but we all know Sesame Street's political, and I'm sorry to say that because I grew up on Sesame Street. I absolutely love Sesame Street. I know a lot of people when they move to America or an English-speaking country, or even when they move to Mexico, a lot of adults watch Sesame Street to learn the language. It's a shame they have to inject politics into this thing.
So the Elmo hack occurred exactly, and here in this article, they're trying to point it all against Elon Musk. So the Elmo hack occurred exactly a week after another anti-Semitism controversy on X. Elon Musk's artificial intelligence chatbot Grok spread anti-Semitic posts on the social media platform. In several posts and replies, Grok was seen attaching stereotypes to users with Jewish surnames, glorifying the man with the mustache, and spreading conspiracies about the over-involvement of Jewish people in government, commerce, and Hollywood.
Okay, I don't think this is an intentional hack by Elon Musk, and I don't think Elon Musk is getting X to be anti-Semitic or pro-mustache man or anything like that.
No, but they touched very little on what happened with Elmo, and now the rest of the article, they just go into the Grok thing.
Well, obviously, and that's the thing. They're trying to really hone in on Musk, and they're trying to affect his advertisers without having an outright cancellation against his advertisers. And another thing I'm going to say, if we remember these other AI platforms, they were programmed to have a bias as well, just in the other direction. So when you ask for historical figures like an old pope or a Viking or somebody that was obviously going to be another race, it was coming back, they were all black. And this was making headlines for a long time. And then they had to fix the programming of that AI. Elon Musk has Grok kind of programmed to be a little bit more free speech oriented. So the code can get corrupted a little bit more easier based upon what questions people are asking overall. I was watching yesterday, not exactly on topic, but somebody on YouTube found out that they were doing AI interviews. So the AI was interviewing the person, and then if you passed the interview, you would go on to a human interview.
Oh yeah, they're doing this every week.
So when he did that, he knew how to manipulate the AI interview, and it was just ridiculous the way he was talking to him. And the AI was absolutely enthusiastic, and he was using all the keywords he needed to use to get past the interview, even though in a normal interview that would have been horrible. So AI can be highly manipulated, and I think based upon questions and the atmosphere that's going on, it could be bringing the mustache man up more than normal. Why? Israel is in a conflict with Iran. Trump's in power in the U.S. This is naturally bringing up, especially from leftists, the idea of the mustache man, things like this. So I think that conversation is probably more in Grok's algorithm than it normally would be. And maybe this is affected in some way. We're not totally sure on how AI even completely works right now, or the programmers don't even know how it's completely programmed. And what are the implications of open dialect and having that go in to affecting its long-term algorithm.
And Rafa says, I advise you to watch an old dumb but funny video, Tickle Me Elmo. And he also says, we're fortunate that Abelardo hasn't been depicted as an immigrant. And that is very true. I don't even know if Abelardo crossed over to the US version, but in Mexican Sesame Street, we didn't have Big Bird. We had Abelardo, which was like not a toucan. What are those birds called? Well, he was green. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of countries actually replace Big Bird with like a local bird.
Oh.
So we had a green one called Abelardo.
Well, that's actually smart because then it regionally appeals to the people in that region.
There's a parrot.
That being said, when I did mention this article to Nat this morning, I said Elmo's X account got hacked, and you go, "What?"
I said yes.
She thought it was AMLO.
That would have been funny.
That's the former president of Mexico, but no. Alas, it was Elmo's X account that did get hacked. We'll talk more about this tonight, more of the political implications and things like this of Elmo's X account being hacked. This is a pop culture show, so I don't want to touch on it too much.
Oh, Rafa corrected me and said, no, not Tickle Me Elmo, Tickle Me Emo. So I'll look it up and we might be able to watch it at night.
Okay, let's go into Rihanna now. And this involves the premiere of her new movie, which is Smurfs. So she may not actually be in it, but her voice is in it.
Mm-hmm. So Rihanna, Xolo Maridueña, and cast attend the Smurfs red carpet premiere from Deadline. Do you want me to read it?
And before we do read it, I'll just say a lot of people were unimpressed with the Smurfs movie and they don't want to see it. I was surprised on the reviews. Surprised because I didn't know it was going to have so much backlash against it. We did see the Smurfs preview in theaters and I didn't see the first Smurfs movie that they made a few years ago. That being said, I did not like the animation. I turned to Nat when we were in the theater and I said, that looks like crap. I want the traditional 2D Smurfs. I don't want 3-dimensional Smurfs. I want 2D Smurfs. And I think 2D Smurfs is hard to sell to a theater audience, but on streaming, I think 2D Smurfs would work great. And I think they should bring that back. I did not, it was almost off-putting, maybe because I grew up with Smurfs and the 2-dimensional, what would you say, the 2-dimensional way of viewing it. And it was just very off-putting to see a 3-dimensional Smurf to me.
Smurfs for me is past my time. Like it's before my time, so I don't really care. I never watched them. I don't know much about them.
Well, during my time, the only time you watched cartoons was Saturday morning cartoons. That was the only way to get it. So I watched a variety of cartoons you may not even expect a guy to watch because they come on back to back to back. And they were really only on 1 or 2 channels. So first you would have G.I. Joe, then you would have the Smurfs, then you would have Transformers. And then lo and behold, what would always come on after that was My Little Pony and then Care Bears. I would stay watching all of those. So I know much too much about Care Bears, Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony. Although it's kind of weird when they have these brony people.
That's what I was going to say. Is that why there's so many bronies that are from the 80s?
I never thought about that. The brony community is extremely weird. I'll say that. First of all, I knew one of the actors. He was married to somebody that I worked with. And I didn't know there was this whole convention. What would you call it?
Yeah, the brony convention.
Yeah, a whole convention of bronies, or this whole culture of My Little Ponies for adults. Once I got of a certain age, like I was no longer involved in any of it, or I didn't watch it. I still will comment on it, and I am interested when things like G.I. Joe come up or Transformers. Those were the 2 of the 5 big cartoons growing up that really stuck with me. There was also the Hulk Hogan cartoon. Okay, let's go into this article a little bit, though.
And Rafa says, I always found the Smurfs pretty boring, to be honest. And I just never came across them.
But what I think so of those 5 cartoons I kind of talked about, G.I. Joe, Transformers, obviously geared towards boys at my time. And then you had the transitional cartoons, which were the Smurfs. And what was the other thing I just mentioned?
G.I. Joe? Hulk Hogan?
Then you had the Smurfs, and then you had My Little Pony. So it would go from boys' cartoons to a transitional cartoon like the Smurfs and to My Little Pony, which was for girls. And people that were addicted to cartoons like I was when I was a little boy, I watched them all. Okay, let's continue here.
So with the forthcoming July 18 release of Smurfs, the Belgian created comic book characters created by Peyo return to the silver screen in the animated live-action musical reboot. Rihanna leads an all-star cast, which includes Xolo Maridueña, Brainy Smurf, John Goodman, Papa Smurf, Hannah Waddingham, Jezebeth, and Nick Offerman Ken, who attended today's red carpet.
I don't know. Premiere. This is one thing I never quite understood. Why do you need these all-star casts for these animated movies? This is always the case with Disney and everything else.
It's actually made it worse. Before, there used to be, like traditionally, voice actors that were actually way better at voicing characters and emoting through their voice because they trained at it for years. And now because they needed those big names and because they needed more people in the theater, they just started putting in people that don't know how to voice act. So the cartoons actually suffer a lot for it.
Yeah, I think now, like where we're going now, AI is coming in and voice acting is going to be replaced by AI definitely first because nobody's going to know. But now is a time when you could actually fight against AI by actually having big name stars in it. But originally, I never seen a point to putting big name stars in it. Even when they did the promotions, I didn't think it got that much of a hit by putting a big name star in a cartoon movie.
I mean, a lot of kids, I mean, they might know tangentially who they are, but a lot of them aren't even old enough to be fans of some of these people or even know who they are. They just look like older people. But because the producers and older adults think that that's what's going to draw audiences, what draws kids is the emotion that they get from the cartoons, from the voice, from the acting that the voice actors do.
And you can hear my dog barking in the back probably.
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe not. Well, but now
because we have good mics today.
I get to test it out today because usually you can hear her barking on our other set.
Yes.
Okay, let's read a little bit more about this.
The Smurfs, or you want to go to the next story?
Oh,
You skipped one.
Oh, I skipped a story. Okay, yeah, let's go into that skip story, and then we'll go into a little bit of production today. And we're going to do a test live on our production segment.
And Rafa says, yeah, they just waste money on those star talents. A kid wouldn't even care who's the voice actor. Exactly.
Okay. But the one thing I will say, they do waste money. And that was my point. And thank you, Rafa, for agreeing with me there. But there are certain stars I think do work well as voice actors. And even though I don't agree with his political views necessarily, Jack Black does appeal towards kids and things like this. And when he's promoting the movie, he really is animated. And I think Jack Black works good as a voice actor. Okay, let's keep going into the next story.
Rafa says, yes, he hears the dog.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for letting us.
Well, she can be part of the show now. It's hard to shut her up now because we're in a separate room in the back of our apartment.
Yeah. So from Deadline, ABC News to produce first original daily news show for Disney Plus with What You Need to Know series. Is this like their attempt at a podcast?
Well, I'll talk about it in just a moment. I'm going to shut the door real quick to see. Okay, so we left the door open. Now I shut the door, so now I'll get to see if we can still hear the dog. But yeah, this is the thing. The mainstream media doesn't know what to do. Basically, I kind of do a daily show about pop culture, and we do another one about politics. This kind of seems like what they're trying to do. I'll be the first to admit I might not be the best at this, but there are a lot of independent people on YouTube that are really good at this and people really trust, and they have millions of viewers. I don't see the mainstream media being able to come into this market with a show like this and do anything but be laughed at and clipped by alternative media.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, let's read a little bit. But I will say this, there have been a lot of lawsuits lately, and the mainstream media is getting a little scared, so they're moving back towards the middle. If they do a show like this, and these lawsuits have scared them enough, so they're actually fair and balanced, and they learn from Piers Morgan by bringing guests on that have alternative points of views, that's the only way I could see the show even having a potential chance of succeeding. But even by the poster here, it just looks like progressive propaganda.
ABC News will debut its first original daily news show for Disney Plus on July 21st with What You Need to Know, anchored by James Longman and Rachel Scott. Who the hell are they? Each episode will premiere at 6 a.m. Eastern.
They're the new Whoopi Goldberg.
And will be available on demand for the next 24 hours before a new show drops. Per the network, the show will be a fast, fresh way to stay ahead of the conversation as viewers start their day. And you have to have Disney Plus. ABC News Good Morning America 3 had the What You Need to Know tagline in its title for the past 5 years, but that was recently shortened to simply GMA 3. Good Morning America's executive producer, Simone Swink, now oversees the third hour with GMA personalities serving as hosts. Longman, chief international correspondent, and Scott, a senior political correspondent, also have hosted the ad.
Okay, now I could just talk crap about this, but I will say... rather than the fact of using one of their old shows and putting new hosts on it, they're making a new show. This would be a potential opportunity for them to switch directions and not be so much progressive propaganda. Call it down the middle. We don't need a conservative show necessarily, but we do need something that's balanced and fair. Also, when you have a show that's balanced and fair, you can bring two opposite personalities on, which can kind of have a debate and a conversation, which is generally fun to watch.
But I mean, it is very clear they're just trying to copy everything that's going on YouTube, but now they're putting it on Disney Plus, which, again, they have such a small viewership, it's not going to go
Well,
anywhere.
Disney Plus is already garbage. The only way they sell Disney Plus subscriptions is just before their quarterly earnings call, they drop it to $2 a month. And then people sign up for the year for $2 a month. So they're not making any real profit off of this thing. Disney Plus is losing money hand over fist. They also manipulate the numbers. YouTube is by far the best kind of, I guess you would call it, streaming and search engine service that is out there right now.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, also is TikTok, but yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about production. And you can see I built a new set here. You know my struggles from last week. We're having trouble setting up audio. Hopefully it's better today. I put 2 mics specifically that I knew were directional. We did have this, I had this other pink mic, and this was an extra mic. And because this is an extra set that I'm building, I kind of wanted to use this mic so I don't kind of have to always hook up a bunch of equipment and unhook it to
For me, not for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to hand this to Nat. She's going to attempt to plug it in, and we're just going to see if it works. We want to kind of test if there's an echo here. I have a new audio interface. I don't know if I'm going to be able to lift it up here, but ooh, I have this audio interface box. You can see these 2 cords coming off of here. Basically, those are the 2 microphones. And what happens is that audio interface usually will clear up a lot of the echoing.
Because it mixes the sound.
Yeah. What I had on Friday was I didn't have the proper audio interface. I was plugging it in directly to the USB port, which I think was causing the problem. I'm hoping that's the case, because if we plug in this mic and there's no echo, then this will be the permanent mic for this room.
I'm going to have to mute you so people don't get their ears bleeding from the sound.
So okay, and it didn't light up this time.
No. Does it also have to be plugged into USB?
Oh, it's working.
It is? Okay, you shut up and let me talk. Okay.
Okay, so we'll leave it there. We'll talk for a few minutes. So what do you have to say about microphones?
About your what?
About microphones.
I'm trying to hear it to see if it works. Yes, Rafa, there was no sound because we had to switch out the microphone. Thank you for letting us know. While we're testing this one out, Rafa asks, are those flags green screen?
No, everything in this room took me a long time to bring up. I have the Mexican flag on this side. I have the Canadian flag on this side because we currently live in Mexico. We used to live in Canada. And right behind me,
go touch them.
13-star American flag. So it's all 3 countries that I've kind of lived in. And we used to have those flags in Canada, and I brought them out of storage actually. And I found them, so I thought they would go good on set. They do. This set took a long time to build, and the audio and everything else, because this set works off of a PC rather than a Mac. Mac, just everything works more smoothly. But no, nothing's green screen here. Everything's real. Also, it may look a little bit green screen because there's a big blur. I use a specialty camera in this room, which is our normal camera. It's a medium format camera, so it can blur things a lot more. So it has a much different look than our other sets.
Okay, go move them so people can see you, because I need to talk so I can monitor, because my mic was a little bit hot, but I tried to, but I'm trying to adjust the sound on it to see if it'll work.
And those black things in the background are little wall panels. I've talked about them on the show before, but they're the cheapest way to make a dynamic background so that the light can reflect off of it. Right above those flags and the wall paneling, there's a light that shines down on it. That's why they look kind of the way they do. But that paneling was absolutely held to get to stay on the wall. They have these sticky backs and they just would not stick. Eventually, I used tape, sticky pads, glue, everything. Now they're up there and hopefully they're going to stay there. So.
And if they fall, it'll be funny. Rafa says, looks lovely. Thank you. I don't like the sound coming out of this mic, but it does work.
Turn the sound
volume. I did.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay. Well.
And I moved it away from myself.
Okay, I'll get to test it out a little later. So, Okay, yeah, I think that's it for today, maybe. Oh, what I was gonna say is, this is a big. This interface is a bit more of an expensive interface, so I don't like to bring it places if we're gonna travel, stuff like that. But you can get smaller interfaces that just have 2 mic inputs, and that's really the cheapest way to go. So you can get an audio interface that won't record, but if you're gonna get an audio interface, you might as well get something you can record into. So there's something called a Zoom H1 XLR. It not only works as an interface, but it also works as a backup recorder. So it's a great way to get sound into your computer if you're using traditional mics with traditional wiring, stuff like this. You could use USB mics, but you've seen the trouble we had with the USB mics on Friday. There was a lot of echoing and there was a lot of trouble. So an audio recorder as an interface is the cheapest way. And that way you also get a backup recording of everything.
And Pam Epson says, hi, Nat and the guy. Hope you're having a good day.
She was here on Friday as well, wasn't she?
Yes, hope you're having a lovely day too as well, Pam.
Yeah, you always come.
From the UK.
Oh, yeah, from the UK. Good to see you again there, Pam. Thanks for the support. I
Yes.
keep looking on the screen rather than into the camera here. Okay, every time Pam comes, we're just about done the episode, though. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you are into politics, please watch our nightly show. That's Nat and the Guy, right back here on this station. If you are a Spanish speaker, we have Nat and the Guy in Espanol, and that's primarily Nat, and she's been doing this a lot longer than I have, so she's typically a lot better on camera than I am.
Not really. People keep telling me that I should prepare better.
Well, I think they just don't agree with your political views.
Probably.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize and do this English channel on a more permanent basis.
And
Adios.
Pam says, I follow around badly. And yes.
Oh,
we'll
we're
see
going to
you.
be on...
Probably. We have to confirm.
Yeah, we're going to probably be on his show later tonight. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So have a good rest of your day. For now, we'll see you at night.